So, welcome back to the Sharon Fitzmaurice podcast. And this is week 4 of our Irish Abroad series. And this week I have the lovely Sinead Naughton, originally from New Inn in County Galway, and now living in New York for the past 30 years. Sinead is a retired history teacher who now operates bars, restaurants in New York City and New Jersey with her husband, Scott, and her beautiful Winston, the dog, who we have a little whisper of as we were recording.
Mm.
And you are a long-time volunteer with Concern Worldwide. Sinead, you are very welcome.
Thank you. It's really lovely to be here, and it's lovely to see you after all these years. So very
Mm.
nice.
Thank you, Sinead. So myself and Sinead, believe it or not, used to go to the same secondary school, the Mercy Convent in Tuam. And we started in first year, if I'm not wrong with my calculations, in 1983.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, I graduated in '88. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So we were just
Imagine.
saying how those years have gone by so quickly. But that's the amazing thing for me. You know, a lot of people give out about social media and all of that. And I said, I love it because it's allowed us to reconnect with people that we may not have connected with again, because a lot of the people that we knew, like Sinead, they went further afield, they didn't stay in
Mm.
Ireland, and they're all over the world now. So it's lovely to see how they're getting on and how their life is progressing and to share, even if it's not, connected, but to share in the experiences that, we all have in life, the good and the bad times. So Sinead and myself went to the Mercy Convent in Tuam, County Galway. And I know I've shared in my own book what my experiences of school were, but that's coming from my perspective. Sinead, what is your perspective of going to school in the Mercy Convent in Tuam?
Well, I'm at a loss now because I did not read your perspective on it. So there you go. Um, I was thinking about it as we were going to talk, actually. And for the most part, have very good memories of that time. I was an unusual boarder in that my dad brought us home every Friday evening and brought us back every Sunday evening. Most of the boarders didn't have that experience. There was young kids at home and stuff like that, and I helped with them. So, so I feel like I was a part-time boarder, but my memories are good. I'm always surprised when I run into people and I mention something and they go, "Oh, I can't talk about that time." And I'm like, okay, we don't know what anyone was living or feeling during that time, right? I mean, it's shocking years later to hear those experiences. The most thing that I'll say about the Mercy is that, like you just said, I met great people and learned how to make friends and learned how to make different types of friends and talk to different kinds of people. And that has stood me through life. And absolutely love reconnecting with those people all these years later and seeing how their lives went. And, did we follow similar paths, different paths? Because we had such a shared experience, like 5 years in a building together. So I don't know what yours was, but we could talk about that again.
Yeah, yeah, I do think about it, and like that, as I said, it's a perspective, and you're looking at it through adult's eyes now of a teenager, which was a new experience and
Yeah.
meeting all of these people from everywhere, and because it
Mm.
was boarding school as well, it was people that you wouldn't have got to meet if you were going to the local disco or
For
wherever.
sure.
So it was, for that sense, it was lovely. And I do remember you were in A3 with me, I think, weren't
That
you?
is correct. I swear that is correct.
Mrs. Lambert McMichael for honours
Oh,
English, and
oh, I
she
still
probably
love my
had the
English.
most profound effect on me because
Okay.
I loved English and I loved writing and imagination and creativity, all of that. And I always remember that English class, so well. And I
She was
remember
brilliant.
everybody that was in it. But I suppose I was fascinated by the borders because our interpretation, I suppose, as country girls coming into the school every day, that every boarder must have been from a very wealthy family and they get to go away for a whole week and live and get cooked for and do everything. But like you, Sinead, it was years later when I met some other people that had gone to the school and boarded, and like you said, their experience was not what I believed it to be, or that
Yeah.
the family life may not have been what I believed it to be. So again, we can make judgments without really knowing anybody. So yes, I have learned a lot over the years, but like you, there is many memories that I cherish from the days
Mm,
that I was in school, and there's other memories that I don't cherish that much.
yeah.
But again, I've learned something from all of them.
Yeah. 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 The same.
Yeah.
The bad things I've put into boxes, but they weren't awful,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's good to hear that you actually enjoyed the boarding, as I said, because some boarders didn't have that experience.
No,
And again, you were lucky going home on the Friday and coming back
it
on the
was different.
Sunday.
I never had to worry about it being too many days. And I thank my
Yes.
dad passed away 10 years ago and I adored the man. He was wonderful, but he had enough sense to realize that we needed to be home on Friday.
Yeah.
And I thank him for that.
Isn't that lovely? It made such a difference, I'd say, Sinead, from
It did.
being in school and having the structure and the nuns, which we had lots of nuns at the time,
Hmm.
but coming home on a Friday and you were just part of the family again, it was
Yeah,
just fitting back in again. And would it have been a farming background
yeah.
or,
So I
yeah,
grew up on a cattle farm. My dad was a cattle dealer. And there were lots of kids. I was the eldest. There were six or one point more, younger than us, me. So my weekends were pretty much baking, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids. But sure, I loved it. I didn't even realize what I was doing. And then I had my own friends from national school, so I could still go out to the disco at the weekend at home. I mean, I feel like I missed some of the Tume experience because of that. I was kind of living in two worlds, which I feel like I still am all these years later.
yeah,
But but no, it was brilliant to go home. Home was oh, I was very, very fortunate.
yeah. It was a haven, I
I grew up
suppose,
in a lovely
really.
home. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Um,
was truly lovely. Hard work. We
yeah.
weren't rich, we weren't poor. Everybody worked very hard, and my dad worked very hard, my mom, but very pleasant, a very loving environment.
Oh,
Very
that's
close still
lovely.
to my siblings, which is fabulous. My mom is doing well. She's going to be 80 next year, happily living in Ireland. I get to see her as much as I can. So, you know, my growing up was very pleasant in that respect. I have very lovely memories.
That's lovely. I love that, Sinead.
Yeah.
So then growing up and going to school in Tuam, and then you went on to college and you were
Hmm.
studying in UCG as it was at the time, now
Yeah.
NUIG. How
Hmm.
was your college days then compared to secondary boarding school?
Well, I mean, think about it. You've been in boarding school for 5 years. It was fine for you guys. You got to do everything you wanted. But yeah, so it was fun. College was definitely fun. I wish I was going to college 20 years later because I probably would have spent a little bit more time on things that I should have
Yeah.
done. But I have no regrets. I had a great experience. I met great people. I was happy with studying English and history. I loved my history and English teachers, Mrs. Long as well in the Mercy. So I had a great background in that. Loved what I did. I loved Galway. Still to this day, my heart sings walking down Shop Street, and I can't explain that.
Isn't that lovely?
I crave it sometimes. It's fabulous. I crave walking in the bog by our house
Yeah.
and the walk around Galway City. They're the two things
Oh,
I have to do when I'm home.
I love that. I
But I
love
wasn't,
it.
I was there for the 4 years and then I left pretty quickly
Yeah.
after college. So
Yeah. And you went straight to New York after college. And
I
again,
was
there was
there
a
for a few
time where
months,
there
yeah.
wasn't much opportunity
Mm.
here. What was it like for you, Sinead, finishing college? Had you kind of decided before you graduated, or was it just afterwards, or what?
Oh, God, no. God, no. I finished college. I was working in the Skeff in Galway.
Mhm.
I was waiting tables. I had finished my HDIP, so I was, doing the odd bit of teaching here and there. But as you say, there weren't a lot of opportunities at the time. Um, I would say that more than half of my college class went to New York. Like it was the time of the Morrison visas. People were getting them in the post, this kind of thing. I had no interest on God's green earth in going to New York City. I was a very happy Irish girl, not a hope in the world. And and I guess because there wasn't a lot of work and because there was a boy involved, I decided to go to New York for the summer. I
Mm.
got my Morrison in the post, the same as everybody else. So I said, oh, sure, I'll give it a few months. And I went in April and the boy thing didn't work out. And I had a job for September prior to a summer job. So, and 30 years later, I'm still here. So, no, I had no burning desire on earth to go to New York, but I ended up here. And ironically, I would say all but one, maybe two of the people that I knew that at that time, mostly from my college and school days, because I lived with one of the girls, boarders, um, left. So here I am, the one who didn't want to come at all.
Wow, still there, isn't it amazing? And
Mm.
even for you leaving home as well, Sinead, and leaving your family,
Mm.
was that a hard decision or did you even think about it at the time?
At the time it was grand because I'd been to New York or to Cape May for a summer, Jersey, the shore, and I'd been to Spain teaching English. So I kind of always been moving around and I loved all these notions of travel and all that. But I know I genuinely didn't see myself not teaching in the west of Ireland somewhere and living in the Galway region. And so when I left, it was such a short-term thing. I'm like, I'm only going to be there for a few months. I'll be back in September. I was actually planning to come back in August because I wanted to get a teaching job for September. But I met, if you want a funny story, as Irish people do, I was there about 2 days and I was in a bar, of course, with some people from college and they were introducing me to some other people. And I passed no heed and I went back down to the city. I had a lovely apartment with Tara Mooney, who you might remember. She was in our
Yeah.
class. And um, about 2 days later, I got a phone call on the landline. Please call this number. So it was Brian Johnson, a lovely man, brother Brian Johnson. And I discovered in the phone call that I had talked to him that night and we had a lovely chat, but he was the principal of a school in the Bronx. And he said, I talked to you the other night and I have a job coming up for September. Will you come up and talk to me? Now, I'm there about 4 days. I have no job for the summer. I don't know anything. I don't know how to get to the Bronx. But anyway, I figure it out. I hop on the thing. I hop up. I meet Brother Brian. We had a lovely chat. And he wanted me to teach religion and English, I think it was. And I said, I've never taught religion. And he said, you're Irish. You're fine. So that was kind of that.
It's in your
So
blood, you're fine.
no problem. And was such a lovely man. He's from awfully beautiful, beautiful man. And many people will know Brother Brian Johnson. And anyway, I chatted with him, took the job, and I ended up working in the Bronx. I was doing the reverse commute, living in Manhattan, traveling up to the Bronx every day. And I spent 4 years up in St. Philip Neri, which was a lovely, lovely, lovely experience. But then I had to tell my mum and dad that I didn't have a job for the summer, but I had one for September.
Yes.
That was a bit shocking. Yeah, that was yeah. But it all kind of was a whirlwind too. And when you're in your early 20s and you feel like you can conquer the world and you have so much time and
Yes.
but it was
Yeah.
a good experience.
I love it. I love the fact that you were in a bar and met a brother,
Yes.
Brian Johnson, and
Yeah.
then got the call to say, I have a job coming up.
Didn't even know he was the principal of a school at the time, which is the funny thing. Like I barely remember the chats at all, not for any reason other than there were so many people.
Yes.
But yeah, so it was, the way things in life just happen sometimes.
I think you're in the right place at the right time.
Mm.
A lot of it, I talk about synchronicity, Sinead, quite a lot with people, and they'd say, God, if I didn't go there that day, I
Mm.
wouldn't have met this person or this wouldn't have happened. And I think there's a lot of that. And then, of course, the decisions we make based on,
Yeah,
whatever that synchronicity was. So I think it maybe everything was there for you. And
for
again, it was
whatever
just for you
reason.
to
Yeah.
decide whether I'll stay or will I go back home? What am I going to do? But staying and teaching in the Bronx, what was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was really fabulous. I worked with kids from all over the world, like literally all over the world, and from different incomes. It was a Catholic school. I had never planned to teach in New York because you had to take your certification or whatever, which I didn't have, even though I had my HDIP. But because I was working in a Catholic school, it was private. So I kind of just fell into this thing without having any American background. And I remember Brother Brian saying, now you can come up on such and such a day and set up your classroom. And I'm like, what? What does he mean? Is it not like, do I not just walk in and teach? So myself and Tara went up, and Tara's very artistic and decorated the whole walls and made everything fabulous. And it was really wonderful because I learned so incredibly much. I taught mostly 13-year-olds that time. I was teaching seventh grade. Um, just meeting so many people, learning so much about so many different cultures and backgrounds, and I have brilliant memories of that time. I prepared the kids for confirmation at one point, which was another wacky experience. But it's a case of, and it's so funny. I say this to people all the time. You just get on with it. You're given things, and what's the point? You just get on with it, do it, right?
I think that's when you're saying that, and I find myself saying that quite a lot as well. When we were in our 20s, we just got on with things, you had to just get on with it.
Hmm.
Whereas now sometimes the young people are looking for somebody to guide and support them and give them instructions to do things. And that happens quite a lot because,
Yes, it does.
and I just think to myself, is it because the adults, our generation or the generation before us believe that they're not capable of doing it? And I'm saying, well, if you let them off, they will find their way as well. You can't guide them to what's right for them. They have to find that for them. Like a bit like us, Sinead. It's like
Yeah,
I
I
just have to do
do. You
it.
notice a lot because I work a lot, not work, but I'm involved a lot with the young Irish coming over here now through through networks and various things. And um, I talk a lot to them and try to help people find jobs and this kind of thing or accommodation. I do feel like they're different in that yes, they're looking for very specific maybe, or there needs to be more of this. But the confidence, I never had that.
No, me
They're
either.
confident. Like it blows my mind. They walk into rooms of people like me that I wouldn't, not nothing special about me, but people they don't know, like
Mm.
people that are older than them, people who've lived and done. And I walk up, hi, my name is Mary. And
Yeah,
I wasn't that person when I was
me
your
either.
age.
Hiding.
Fair play to you. Like, no, I am really impressed with that.
Mm.
I feel like we were more, well, we weren't as self-assured for sure.
No,
We
definitely
were
not.
also, I worked in restaurants, I washed dishes, we did all kinds of
Yeah.
because you had to, and you wanted the
Mhm.
money, and you didn't make a lot of it. Maybe they have just better job expectations, so they don't have to do those kind of things. Perhaps I don't have the answer to that. Um, but there is definitely a difference. You see the difference, but the confidence is
Mm.
a striking difference to me. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I think you're absolutely right, Sinead. And I think they definitely do have a different expectation of a job, even if it's a part-time job. They are defining their hours, their pay,
Yes.
their days off, where we went and we were told
Yes.
what to do when we were doing it
Yes.
and how much we get paid. And we just say, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
There was no quibbling about it
100%.
or, demanding time or days off. And I suppose maybe that's a
Yes.
that they've learned to respect themselves and value their work, but also to find a balance because I hear even my own two sometimes kind of going, well, you should get more money for doing that job and everything. And I said, we all have to start somewhere and build ourselves up. But what they're saying, the younger generation, is we should be valued for the time that we spend in any work environment. And you're like going, yes, because maybe we weren't always valued when we were
True.
younger, Sinead. Maybe we were taken advantage of because we just said yes to everything.
Like everybody did though. Like it was just the way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We were more afraid to speak up for ourselves and, in demands, if you want to put it that way. And I think the
Yeah.
generation now coming up are kind of saying, well, this is what I want. In a way, they're kind of saying, well, this is how I would like it to look. And this is what kind of a lifestyle I would like to have. So I need to have this time off and this money. So I
Yeah.
just think they are, as you
Yeah.
said, the confidence and being self-assured in what they know is right for them.
And maybe the level of education is different. And not that they're getting, I don't, that sounded wrong, but like, I feel like a lot of the younger Irish that are coming out have very, they've big degrees in finance and this and that and the other. They know that they have a very clear picture of where they're going and into more high power, not high powered, but maybe high paying positions
Mm.
and things
Yeah.
like that. I think we were a bit loosey goosey. Then again, there was nothing in Ireland. We were all just leaving. You didn't really
Absolutely.
know what you were
Yeah.
heading into. Like they have a defined.
Yeah. And they know how many years they're going to work. Now, I'm laughing because you went, oh, I'm not sure how long I'll stay. I could imagine myself living in Ireland, but they're saying I'm going for 3 to 5 years,
Yes.
and then I'm going to come home and I'm going to
Yeah.
set up house or whatever it is. Or
Mhm.
some of them, I had a lady tell me the other day that one of her children actually told her the other day that why would you work a full-time job while you're young? That is the time when you should travel the world, work for a few months, then travel again for a few more months, and then work again, build up the money, and you're still gaining experience, but you're also traveling the world. Why would anyone work full time for 40 years and wait until retirement to do anything?
I can't disagree with it. Like, I mean,
Mm.
it's the truth.
It is the truth.
I mean, they
And
say
we
that,
program
yeah.
Sinead for the job and the house and the savings and
But it is reprogramming it a wee bit again, isn't it? Like I feel like that is changing.
yes.
Maybe my experience is clouded. I don't know. I feel like people aren't as here, at least, the young people aren't as anxious to have own the house and all this stuff.
Mhm.
Like renting isn't considered such a bad thing,
No.
things like that. But yeah, it's funny to hear you say that. But I think she's right, actually. I
Yeah,
think
I think she is as
if
well.
we
And
could do the
I was, when she said it to me, I was like, going, you know what? She is so right. But I suppose we didn't have, financially, we had to go out and get a job and we had to get experience and a place to
mm,
live. And again, as I said, most people went and they left Ireland and they had to go abroad. So now the young people are choosing to do
mm.
that. It's not that they have to as much, they're choosing to get the experience and the lifestyle and see different parts of the world, which I think everybody should do anyway. I think we should all have those experiences.
So I was very fortunate because speaking of it, I have to say I kind of did have a little bit of that in my life because the man I ended up marrying convinced me, well, he didn't have to work very hard on this. Um, just before I turned 30, we gave up our jobs and went into working in restaurants and he went to California and we saved up for about 9 months and we traveled the world. So for my 30th birthday, I went traveling for a year when all the kids try to do it when they're 18 or whatever. So you're making me think I actually did have a little bit of that. And
Yes.
I've absolutely no regrets. Everybody was saying you don't have a job and you're going to be this age and you don't have a house and you don't have this. I'm like, I
So
saw the
much. Yeah, I love it. And I think a lot of people are realizing that, Sinead, so again, that's why it's important to share these
world.
stories when people are going, oh, but I couldn't do that. And what about my job? And what about everything? I think sometimes the experiences and giving yourself the freedom makes you a better person. It makes you more whole in yourself. And then coming back, and it kind of gives you an idea of, well,
Mm.
where I want to go next.
A little break. I mean, I didn't think of it that way at the time. Every day I woke up and went, I am the luckiest human being alive.
Mm,
But in retrospect, no regrets. Would tell anyone to do it. Like life is for living and it's short. And there's a lot of
absolutely.
sadness and a lot of hardship.
Mm.
So
Yeah, you're
do
so
the good
right.
things while you can. It doesn't always work out, but
But that's it. But I think again, it's to live your life while you're well and while you can
while you
and to
can.
create the experiences. They don't come knocking on your door all the time. You have to go out and
Oh,
create them. But
and
let's go
enjoy
back, as
people,
you
by the way.
mentioned, your
Yeah.
wonderful Scott. Where did you meet Scott?
Say, what did you say? Sorry.
Where did you meet
Oh, where
Scott?
did I meet Scott? Oh, where does anyone meet? Well, where did anyone meet people back then? In a bar.
Yeah.
I was a hostess in a bar after school every evening, an Irish bar in Midtown. And Scott played football for the team. Scott's an Englishman. And my friend was visiting from Ireland and she saw him in the bar and said, can you introduce me to him? And I said, oh, yeah, yeah, I know him. So I tried to set them up, but he asked me out. So it's a long story. But anyway, yeah,
Oh,
yes. And also I told him, this is such a silly conversation, but it's really making me smile. I told him not to fall for me or not to get involved with me because I was going back to Ireland because I had decided that was the end of my 4 years at Philip Neri and I had given in my notice and I told Brother Brian I was leaving and I was holding strong to that. So I met him and we had a lovely maybe 2 months or something, 3 months. And I was like, all right, now I'm gone. Nice, this was fun. We'll see each other again somewhere along the line. And I wasn't very happy when I got back to Ireland. And I didn't get a job I applied all over the west of Ireland, didn't get a job. Um, Probably wasn't trying as hard as I should have been. Kind of got a bit sick. I got strep. I wasn't feeling well. And my dad, again, for that man, I don't know, he just came up one day to the room. I wasn't feeling well. And he said, you can go back. It's okay if you go back. And I said, yeah, I know. I've been thinking about it. And he goes, well, maybe that's what you're supposed to do. And that
Yeah.
was kind of the end of it. And I
Isn't
went
that
back.
amazing?
Mm.
For your dad even to have that generosity of spirit
I
to
know.
say, I want to keep her here. I don't want to lose
Yeah.
her. But he saw that there was more opportunity, or even maybe your heart was in
Yeah,
America.
I know. I don't think it was. It's so many things. Who knows what you're actually thinking when you're 28 and you're whatever. But,
Yeah.
it was interesting because I guess I was at a point where I had made a decision. I really do love my family, and they're a very important part of who I am. Kind of wanted to be home. Like, it's what I wanted. I wanted to live in Ireland. I wanted to. But anyway, I
Oh,
came back.
does it make you emotional talking about it, Sinead?
No,
Does it?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm going
Oh
down
no, I
roads that
love
are.
emotional people. I think
Yeah.
it's what makes us special. It's feeling it, isn't it? And even when you're
Yeah.
going back, reminiscing about those times,
Yeah.
reliving it in your mind and feeling it, it's really important because they're the important times,
Yeah.
that we cherish, isn't it? And
Yes,
remembering your
exactly.
dad, especially
Yeah.
since he's passed.
Yeah.
It's so lovely to remember those little conversations or the support that he offered you all through your life, that
Yeah.
it sticks with you.
Yeah. It does. And my mum the same. Like we were very fortunate. We are very fortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, I was back in the States, no job, no apartment, no anything. And it all just worked out.
Yeah.
I ended up working in
Amazing.
a restaurant for 2 years, or I guess, yeah, 2 years. And then we went traveling. And then I came back and decided it was time to, and now I'm 31 or something. Now it's probably time to start being a bit more serious about life. So
Yeah.
I started applying for teaching jobs again and fell back into that again.
Very
So
good.
I ended up teaching in two very lovely schools in New York for 14 years. History, loved it. World history and global
Mm.
studies. It was fun. I had the coolest job in both schools, so I was very happy.
That's
Very happy.
lovely. Isn't it lovely to be sharing, and especially when you have a love of something and to be sharing it with the
Yes.
generation coming up as well. Because I think as well, and going back to our own school days, you can tell when the teacher really has a passion for it, when they're just going in doing the necessary.
Sharon, to the day I finished teaching, I have my history books from Mrs. Long with every note I ever took. And I tell you, God's honest truth, I used sentences that I remember her saying. Like, I love Renaissance and Reformation, that era. That was something she had taught us. I think I used her words, like I used her stories. I used her, yeah. And the
That
same
to
with
show you
English.
the
Like,
impact a
we
teacher
were
can
lucky.
have on a
Yeah.
child or a young adult's life. And we
Mm.
say that all the time, that wherever people are from, that it takes one adult, just one adult, to change a child's perception about their future. You know,
Yeah.
isn't that amazing? So that one person sometimes can be a teacher.
Yeah. Yes,
Mm,
I can see. Often teachers, maybe.
yeah.
I worked with some incredibly inspiring human beings throughout the years who definitely had an incredibly positive impact on young people. And people have so many what's the word? They have issues and dilemmas that we didn't have because we didn't grow up in this crazy social media world.
Mm,
You know what I mean.
yeah.
So I think that those personal connections are so important. I
Mm.
miss teaching a lot. I
Do
sometimes
you?
regret having left it, but
Yeah.
the personal connections, there's nothing more important really. And
No.
you can only wish for that for your children or the
Yes.
people that you love.
Absolutely. And it is so true. And I think because of the high tech world now, where, and especially as you can see it in young people, they're connecting with their friends through screens, and where we
Mm.
were outside playing or in the bog or going to
Yeah.
math or whatever it was, that we had lots of connections, in person. But again, I think it's not all people. I think there's a lot of young people that are forming their own personal connections through whether
Oh,
it's
for
sports
sure.
or, yeah, or
For
music
sport,
or,
GAA in Ireland is
yes,
phenomenal. Like I love seeing, like it's incredible.
yeah,
And here in New York, actually,
yes.
funny enough, I mean, obviously the kids have their teams, but the GAA groups in New York are brilliant.
I
Not
know
not
that's
the
one of the
GAA
things,
is.
Sinead, whenever young lads from around different country areas, wherever city areas, when they went away to London or New York or somewhere in Australia, that the first thing they did was join the GA club nearest to them, because that was the way that they had something in common with the
Yeah,
people. They were involved in the community, got their games in, their exercise, and had a social life out
I
of it
had
as
a
well.
social life and met people. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, that was Scott's experience. He joined the local football team, and that's
yeah.
how he met people. But I was never that great at sports. I do play pickleball now, which is hilarious if you know anything about pickleball. It's like the
No, I
sport.
don't know anything
Yeah.
about it. Never even
Some
heard of
people
it.
think it's not a real sport, but I quite like it. Um, but again, I did have my network of friends when I went to New York. Like I had a very, very large group of people whom I knew and trusted and respected because I had grown up with them. So,
Yes.
but yes, I think there is that, and I think you're right. I mean, we shouldn't brand everybody with the same brush because I just feel like it's much harder
Mm,
for many young people because of the world they grow up in and
yeah.
making the connections, as you say. You don't often understand how important that one conversation might be, or that one piece of thanks or gratitude or hello or how are
Yes.
you,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah.
It's like you said, Mrs. Long, your history teacher, had such an impact on you, and you were using her words and her stories that she
Mhm.
helped teach you. So you found this love of history, and it usually comes from the teacher. And that's for me was Mrs. Lambert McMichael. She gave me, I suppose, a more profound experience of English.
She was
Maybe.
great.
Yeah, I just loved her. She was quite eccentric at times, but I love that because we weren't eccentric. We were afraid of to say it out loud, but I loved her. She was almost like on stage, performing to us as she performed a
Yeah.
poem or read something from the book. And she gave me that feeling of we can express it, even if it's the same story. And me and you were reading it, Sinead, we would both perform it differently or express it differently, or we'd have a different, the way you had to say, well, what do you feel the author
Yeah.
is talking about in that poem? And everyone would have a different idea of what it was
Mm.
based on your own feelings or thoughts at the time or where you were in your life. And that's what I loved. It's that poetry and stories and everything. We can all get something from it, but maybe not the same as everybody else. So in life, just as we're talking about young people, we see it very differently to how we grew up. But they only know that world. They can only
Mm.
see it from their perspective.
Yeah.
But again, what's running through that thread that's running through is that if one teacher can make an impact in that young person's life, it could impact all the decisions they make for the rest of their lives and where they go.
Yeah.
Isn't it
I mean,
true?
when you talk there about, I haven't thought about her in a long time, but like we were so lucky.
Oh,
We actually did have great teachers,
yes.
and many of them I've good memory. Yeah, I, yeah, yes, it's important. It's
It
very
is.
important.
And I think to acknowledge that and where you get a love of something, and I do remember that. And she just wanted to teach what she loved.
Mm.
And it's like you teaching the history and you
Oh
loved
yeah,
it and still having your history books. I am sure there is many students that learn so much in that love of history. They learn to love something and be interested and wanting to learn more about more than their little world inside a screen. They want to now explore the world and understand that, wow, I remember my teacher, Miss
yes,
Naughton.
that is all you could ever ask for as a teacher. Honestly,
Yes.
is that a
Yeah.
child will be interested, or that you
Yeah.
can spark an interest in something.
Mm,
I loved what I did,
yeah.
loved it,
You
and
can
I still
see it.
have lovely relationships with many of the kids that I taught. But I was so lucky. Like, who doesn't want to teach about the world and cultures and religions and climates? Like,
Yeah.
who doesn't want to learn? I was lucky.
Yes. Well, you say that, Sinead, because you loved it. But there's many people, as I said, that think that's not interesting to them. And they, because their brain may work a different way and see it a different way. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes in the school systems, and there's the other thing I have, is again, it depends on the teacher. We are now expecting every child to learn the same, and we're now understanding that not every child learns the
Same.
same. Whereas
Yeah.
in our time, it was you were told to do it this way, and we all had to sit and listen and do and
Yep.
write, whatever. Now they're seeing there's so many different ways people learn orally. There's people that need assistance.
Yeah.
There's all the things that were kind of pushed aside years ago, Sinead, and ignored, or
Yeah.
maybe not
No, and it's
supported.
great that they're to the forefront. And working in America was fabulous because we had working in New York was so much funding. I worked in private schools, like technology became a huge part of my life. And that's so important because how do kids you can't expect a kid to read a book or it's not a great example, but they're used to a screen. You
Yeah,
have to incorporate it somehow into what they do. That's how they learn. It's how they
yeah.
interact. So it was brilliant being part of that in New York for sure. I was very fortunate. I was able to do all kinds of classes and workshops professionally, all kinds of professional development that I possibly would not have had the opportunity to do
You were in
elsewhere.
Ireland.
So
Yeah.
it
So
was
again, I think
I
they
was
were,
laughing. One thing that came to my mind when you said about kids and why am I doing this? I had a young lady one day and I asked them to learn, the capitals or something. I don't know, it was something like that. And this girl, very in earnest, beautiful little young one, about 14 years old. But Miss Naughton, why? Why do I need it? And I was like, well, why don't you need it? Don't you want to turn up in an airport and know where you are? And she went, won't there be signs? I
I
swear to
love it.
God.
I love it.
I mean, what could you do?
And she's so right too.
And she was so serious. It's like it was really.
Do you know what? I love that because again, you were looking at why wouldn't you want to know? You should know it beforehand. Where they're saying, "I'll just take it. Sure, there'll be a sign. Someone will tell me where I am." I love it.
Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah, I'll never forget her. Cutie little thing. But anyway, there you go.
That is amazing, Sinead. So a great experience for you teaching.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
lovely to hear as well. So
Yes.
tell me then, with yourself and Scott, you decided then to set up your own bars and restaurants. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea, but we kind of fell into it. I had worked in hospital. I love the hospitality industry, by the way. Ever since I worked in wards in Ballyfa in the middle of
Mm.
nowhere when I was 14 years of age. But worked in the Skep. I worked in restaurants and bars in New York my whole life. I love the industry. Scott fell into the industry through more happenstance and he ended up putting in security cameras in bars and stuff like this. So kind of got involved, wanted to maybe invest in something, and we fell into it. And years later, here we are. Like it
Wow.
was never planned. It was literally there was no plan. There was no plan. And this is where we are now. So a few years ago, I had to decide whether I was running the bars at night and teaching during the day. I'm that kind of person. I do need to be busy all the time. My mother will tell you it takes me about 4 days to relax when I get home. She's like, "Can you sit down, please?" Yeah. Um, so I had to decide, and I chose the bars because we own them, and it seemed like the right thing to do. It was before COVID. It was before the world changed,
Mm-hmm.
and I just felt we were investing in our own future, and I couldn't do both jobs anymore.
No.
I do miss teaching. I
Mm.
miss teaching keeps you young. Like
Mm.
it's more than just the lingo and the chats. It
Yeah.
just you're constantly engaging with these brilliant minds and anything can happen any day. It's
Mm.
I do miss it. Yeah. I loved it. But working in bars and running bars is also a very interesting and often unrewarding lifestyle.
You're
And
selling it there, Sinead.
Yeah, I do try to keep people out of it a little bit now. It's not a very easy it's not a very easy way to live.
Why
Yeah,
is it not
it's
easy?
hard. It's hard. It's hard work because things go wrong all the time.
Yeah,
Things happen all the time. There's no template. There's no today is going to be like this. It just it's not.
no. You're
So
dealing with not just staff, you're dealing with your suppliers, you're
yeah.
dealing with everything.
And everything has become, COVID changed the whole world. Everything has become harder, more expensive, insurance, rent. We have bars in New York, right in the middle of the city, and would have relied a lot on a corporate trade, which would have been very, very strong pre-COVID. And of course, many of the offices have not gone back to work full time. So you're kind of trying to reinvent the wheel and find new ways to generate income. I have a great life. There's nothing wrong with my life. There's no poor me in this situation at
Yes.
all.
But you're just
But,
talking about the changes and having
but
to,
yes, it is
yeah.
not. It is not. I was chatting with a friend. He owns a bar in the Meatpacking District the other day, and we were chatting, and he's like, Sinead, I'm so fed up with telling these young ones not to do it. They
Yeah.
come to me on advice on opening bars, and he said, I don't know why they don't listen to me. I'm like, no, everybody has to try their own adventure. But yeah, it's tough. It's very rewarding. It's a lot of fun. It's for the young. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it something you would think you will continue?
Well, we are well invested at this point, and we now live part of the time in New Jersey in a beautiful community where I get to walk every morning, which is just
Beautiful.
and we also invested in a bar and restaurant in this rural area that we live in. So we're only a few years in, and we're young,
Hmm.
and I suppose we will continue. I suppose. But who knows? Because so many things, there wasn't a plan, Sharon. I mean, you can hear
Yeah.
this. This is my trajectory. There was no plan.
Yeah. And I kind of love that as well, Sinead, about you, you know. And I think for, and again, having started school, secondary school in 1983, and it seems like such a long time ago, but time passes so quickly, really. And we have
Mhm.
had lots of experiences throughout those years and learned a lot about ourselves and about what we love
Mhm.
and don't love. And the world changes sometimes without our choice in it, like
Yes.
COVID did. And you could have had lots of plans before that, but COVID changed everything for a lot of people all over the
Mhm.
world. So
Mhm.
afterwards, you have to adapt and you have to learn how can I do it differently, but still having the joy in it for yourself. And I don't know if you have to know what the next 10 years is going to be like, Sinead. I think at the
Yeah.
moment, a lot of people are doing it year to year now, especially in business.
Yeah, but to go back to the thing you said just before that, you said the joy in it.
Yes,
Life is short.
yes,
There has to be something, there has to be joy. There
absolutely.
has to be something you want to say, I'm excited to do that today.
Yes,
And we have to be brave and make changes when that is not the case.
yeah. Oh my God,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But you're
You
right. I
can,
mean, yes, everybody is
you,
more transient. People have 20 million careers now. They're not
mm,
teaching for 40 years or whatever it is, or, some people are by choice
yeah,
and happily, but yes. And we especially see that in New York, of course, because you'll turn around today and somebody was in finance and tomorrow they're working for the Irish consulate or whatever it is. Like,
yeah.
people just are constantly moving.
But maybe COVID was a little eye opener for people, Sinead, as well.
Mm.
Because, like you said, a lot of people, especially in the corporate world, they were commuting, a lot of their
Mhm.
hours were late, they weren't spending time with their partners or families, and
Yeah.
they were spending a lot of time commuting and then trying to catch up with everything at the weekend and a lot of stress based, stuff going on for them. And I saw that here in Ireland as well, in particular, where after COVID was, the lockdowns and we were opening up again to the world. And I heard a lot of people, especially my clients, saying, I don't want to go back to that world again. I don't want
Yeah.
to go back to that stress and that commuting. And why am I doing it? What is it for?
That was good though, wasn't it? I mean,
Yes, it was amazing.
I think you and
Frightened.
I and our generation are living through, one of these periods in history that I taught about. Like we are living through an actual change that
Yes.
people will look back and say that was the point. That
Yeah.
was the Renaissance. That was whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of it. I
Yeah.
don't I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it is either. I know for people they're finding it hard because again they have the obligations and
Mm.
financial obligations and the fear
Yeah.
of making a change. But again, if there's no joy in it,
No,
it's
but even like you said something there that just struck me. I don't like even the whole way people socialize, even the whole bar industry. Like you see the trends. People drink less alcohol, which is a good thing.
yeah.
Non-alcoholic beverages are some of the highest, growing markets in the world.
Mm,
Um, Everything has changed.
mm,
Like it's not just that the corporate offices don't come in on Friday.
mm.
Like, people play more sports, they get outside more, these evenings with family. People probably talk to you more and talk more about how they feel. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I can only assume that.
Mm,
All those things are really, really good, but where does it go then? Like who are we going to become? That's the bit we might
mm.
never know.
Yeah, and you know what? It's okay too because we don't have to have an end plan because as you
Mm.
see in yourself in your own life, just talking about it, Sinead, things change. You
Mm.
know, you meet people, you get a job in a school in America where you thought you were going home to Ireland. You meet your husband,
Mm.
when you were going to introduce your friend to the,
I know.
life happens and you have to laugh and just go, when you look back at it and you think, where I am now is exactly where I'm supposed to be. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be in this same place in 10 years' time or 20 years' time. For me, I always say I just leave the door to the universe open. And I say, just give me the opportunities that are going to bring joy, as you said, but they're
Yeah.
also going to help me to learn and grow more about myself and what I want. Because every year I think of our lives, we are changing, whether there's a COVID or no COVID. But COVID just stopped everyone in their tracks and made them become more self-aware of who they are and where they
Yeah.
are in their lives. But I think, again, for the clients that I work with, Sinead, when you're talking about it, it's really just allowing them to have a little bit more clarity and focus and saying, well, what is it I would love my life to look like? Whether that is traveling, the amount of hours I do in a week, how I want to spend my time, who I want to spend my time with, what does it look like to you? And realizing that you have a choice in
Yes.
your life, that it's not like it was years ago for people. They have to go to work, they have to do this, they have to
Yeah.
do everything. Whereas now we're saying, like the young people, we can kind of dictate where we want our lives to go.
Yeah. It's just opening the door, as you
Yeah,
say. It's
yeah,
being open to the opportunity, which is
yeah,
always what I tell the kids when they come to New York.
yeah.
Accept every invitation, talk to every human being, have coffee with everyone you meet. Like
Mm,
you just never know. That opportunity is right there. And as my girlfriend said, she said, always surround yourself with women, like strong women. And I tried to do that and just do. And
yeah.
surround yourself with women who will always mention your name in a room full of opportunities.
Oh, I love that.
And I love that. And I do
Sinead,
that.
I think is that more of an American thing than an Irish thing?
I don't know. I mean, when I was so shy about being that person. I'm no longer shy. I'll walk into anything now. Just
Yeah.
take me or leave me. But I was. So maybe it is more like I had to force myself to walk into those rooms. And I really, really did. I was at a very low point. My most of my college friends had left. I mean, I was lucky I had Scott, but I only had Scott. I
Mm,
had my teaching job and I had him. And within the last two friends left. I was like, I have to do something because I'm going to lose my mind.
no.
And eventually I forced myself to go to those networking meetings. I forced myself to walk into Concern's office and say, hi, can I help? Can I do something? Like silly things. And it was not easy and not natural.
Mm,
And I spent years being the wallflower in the corner going, maybe nobody will talk to me and I'll get lucky and I'll be able to leave in 5 minutes.
yeah.
But you got to do it. And the reward is great.
Mm.
Doing it is, but yeah, are we talking about the same things? I'm not sure, but
Oh, definitely,
networking, the
yes.
opportunity, yeah, very, very much so. But the young Irish seem to take to it like fish to water. So I don't know
Oh,
if it's an American thing. I see them here, I don't see them there. So,
Yeah. But when you said surrounding yourself with strong women
oh,
and
strong, yeah,
that they will mention your name in a room full of
full of
opportunities,
opportunities.
there's still now, and I know it's changing because obviously on this podcast, I will support everybody and I love sharing their stories and whatever they're doing and promoting people. And I have a members community where I invite different guest speakers in and to share about their work and everything. Because I think the more knowledge we have, the more awareness we have, the more we can
Yeah.
help ourselves. So that's why I love doing it. But I remember a lady actually, and she's quite high up in her role in her company. And we were talking about this and about giving opportunities to people. And I said, well, I love giving opportunities to people and letting them shine their light. And she said, yeah, I know a few people that would like to quench it too, she said. And I just thought that's really Irish.
Well, I mean, there's
But for me, I just went, that's really strange. I never had that thought or feeling for anybody. And I couldn't understand why anyone else would want to quench another person's light. And she was looking at me as if you are so naive, Sharon, and innocent. And I said, I'm not. I said, I've experienced lots in the world, but I still couldn't believe that anybody wouldn't want to help you to progress.
yeah. Yeah, we don't do that here.
No,
Well,
no,
no, that's not true. I'm sure it happens everywhere. But I'm very fortunate. There's wonderful women and men. It's
yeah,
unfair to say, but I do make a point to keep the circles of strong women there. They're brilliant at what they do. They're fabulous. They could run the world in the morning, but they make me feel better about me.
isn't that
And
lovely?
that's important, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you have to have
a good circle, a
you
strong,
have to have
supportive circle.
a supportive circle. Yeah,
Mm,
and you have to foster it. You have to work on it. It doesn't happen like that. You have to
no,
keep them alive.
yeah,
But
yeah.
well, should we all know these things are important? It's just
A reminder sometimes, I
yeah,
think, Sinead,
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Sinead, if you went back to Sinead that headed
Oh,
over to New York that first
mm,
time, not sure where the world was going to bring her, but knowing what you know now, what would you say to your younger Sinead self?
was this before college or after? Because I definitely should have studied harder. My mind was better than that.
Did what you did. We'll say afterwards, so
I know,
because
I'm
I
only
think
teasing.
wherever you were, and you're
Um,
here now, even because you may have done things differently and studied harder. But look where you have got to in your life and all you've achieved, Sinead, and everybody that you've helped in your teaching. What would you say to that Sinead now?
I'd be open.
Be open.
Be open to every opportunity. That
Yeah,
just uh, I wouldn't have any words of regret because I
yeah.
don't think we can live with regrets. Yeah,
Be
just
open to every
be open.
opportunity.
But Dad used to say, and I think of it often. We'd come home and we'd be home and you'd be sitting around the kitchen having a glass of wine or whatever, and he'd say, "Come on, we'll go down to New Inn or down to the pub or whatever." And I'd be like, because you have to go out and meet the people. You
Yeah,
have to go out and meet the people. And like it was just his farmer way of whatever. But like, yeah, you do have to put yourself into the opportunity sometimes.
yes.
And always to do that. Things came my way. Maybe I was open to them, maybe I wasn't.
So really, you're creating the opportunities by going out there, as your dad said, meet the people. You have to
Go
meet
out
the
and meet the
people.
people. You have to go
So
out and meet the
you're
people.
creating the opportunities for yourself by putting that foot forward, even when you went to concern or you went in and joined different communities. You didn't feel like it was you, but you went out and did it anyway, and you
Yeah.
created opportunities to meet people that were going
And
to help and
engage and
support you.
learn and
Yeah,
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Just to
I
to
love it.
to, to do that. Yeah. I hope that would be good advice.
I
I
think
don't
it is the best advice. I really do, because as I said, a lot of people want opportunity to knock on their door, and we all know that we have to take that step
yeah.
towards it
And it's not
first.
easy. Nobody's saying it's easy.
No.
Nobody is saying that we all feel good about doing things outside our zone.
Mm,
But the reward is great if you can just plow through.
yeah. Well, I think what Sinead Naughton you are and have been on this podcast is a beautiful example of stepping outside of your comfort zone, not having a plan,
Not
but
having a
creating
plan.
your own opportunities. And to me, that is a wonderful life story. You don't have to name any achievement. You don't have to say what it was, but just even those sentences alone, Sinead, I think are an
You're
award.
very kind.
No, I'm serious because that's why I love hearing people's stories because we can be put all the labels in the world on ourselves, but it's not who we are as a person. And we don't always hear about the struggles or the challenges that the person has, you know, come or faced in their lives. And I think if your dad was sitting beside me, he would say she went out and met the people. She went out and met the people.
I think he
He would
might.
probably say, I'm so proud of her. She met the people. She went out there and met them because it is so true. Unless we actually go face to face and put ourselves out there and whatever it's going to be, we're
Mm.
never going to know ourselves or the world truly, are we?
I don't think so. I think you're wise in your words. And
Oh,
there
well,
you
you are
go.
mirroring my wisdom today because Sinead, do you know what? It was so wonderful. After all of these years, it
I
was
know.
just so lovely to connect with you and have the chats.
I think you should connect with every one of the 119 people that were in our class. It would be such a brilliant project.
Do you know what? Maybe that's going to be a
I would
project
love
for
that.
2025, calling all the Mercy 1988 graduates. Come on to the Sharon Fitzmaurice
Yeah.
podcast.
Wouldn't it be fabulous though? Anyway, you're such
Yeah.
an easy person to talk to. I have really enjoyed following your career online, or you're great on social media, so I know a wee bit about you, and I'm very happy and proud that somebody I knew then has done so well. And
Oh,
you're one of the women I'd put in my room of full of opportunities. So there you go.
oh, wow. Well, you as well, Sinead. And believe it or not, I have never been to America in all my life. But I can promise you, if I do and I come to New York, I will be calling on you.
I will look forward to that. It would be lovely to have you and John, and you should 100% visit. I think we'd have lots to talk about.
Oh my God, definitely.
So you'll
Sinead
be very welcome.
Naughton, thank you so much for your time and for
Well,
your beautiful stories. I just think they're wonderful and I think you're amazing. Thank you.
well, thank you. I enjoyed it very much. So thank you very, very much.
So thank you everybody for listening to that wonderful chat between myself and Sinead as we were reminiscing, but also talking about how we can create new opportunities for ourselves. So until next time, take care of you.